Welcome into Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching, and this is another draft review. I'm reviewing the New York Jets today, and I am doing a video on every single team that drafted in the 2020 draft. 32 teams, every team in the NFL. I'm really excited. I'm getting those out as fast as I can, but there is a lot of work that does go into these, so just be a little bit patient with me. If you don't see your team on the channel yet, it is coming. But let's talk about the Jets today. I thought that they made a lot of really good moves, which I'm going to get into, and the picks I was a little hot and cold on, depending on the player that they got, and I'm going to get into that as well. Just so you guys know, if you haven't watched any of my other videos, I grade the draft based on the players they got in the first 3 rounds, but I also base it on the moves that they made in the draft, and I also grade it on guidelines that are really important to me that I've developed by studying the smart teams in the draft, the teams that seem to get the most out of the draft every year and seem to be really good year over year. So that's kind of what they're based on. I want to talk about the 3 guidelines that I have going into the draft. I think it's important for every team to follow it as close as they can. The first thing is go in with a plan. Have a plan with the draft, and I should be able to look at your draft class, look at the moves you made in a vacuum and say, yes, there is a clear and obvious plan. And to me, for the Jets, I have questions. I do. I think that they came in. I think they did go best available a little bit. I think their board was probably very different than what my board would have been. I will put that out there. I think they were kind of gamblers. I think they were fine taking risks on guys that have incredible upside, but also probably have a pretty low floor as well. So there's definitely a range of outcomes. I mean, if we look back on this Jets class and it ends up being 5, 6, 7 stars, yeah, I wouldn't be completely shocked. I maybe 7 would be a lot. That would shock me. But if half of their class they drafted 9 guys and then traded for Quincy Williams, so they technically got 10 guys out of this draft, but 9 of them is what we'll all remember it by years to come. If they hit on 5 of them, I'm going to sit here and say they won't, but it wouldn't shock me because there's absolutely that upside. So I'm going to say that there. I thought they attacked needs, and that was kind of clear, especially in the beginning part of the draft, the first couple rounds, and I will get to that later. My second guideline is, did they take an offensive lineman in the first 4 rounds? To me, it is so important to attack offensive line every single year, and I'm going to say in every single video, there are not many bad teams with a good offensive line. It just doesn't happen. So I think constantly adding players to that cast, you gotta think there's 5 offensive linemen that need to start. Injuries are prevalent in the NFL. We all know that. So getting as many good offensive linemen on your team as you can, there's never going to be enough offensive linemen. And of course they did. They took a tackle with their very first pick. So they do fit that guideline as well, which that was a huge need for them as well. And then lastly, did they attack the position of value in the class? And I would say they did. Of course, wide receiver was the most valuable position in this class. There were so many good wide receivers. We were so deep at wide receiver in this class, and they did take wide receiver early, which does fit into that category. So they followed all the guidelines that I have for the draft. Let's dive into the draft and see how they did. So first, I do want to look at the players that they took in those first 3 rounds. Those are the rounds that I feel like you are getting potential starters on your team, and that's really what I'm going to grade your draft on right now. You know, when you go back and look 3-4 years from now and you look, yes, you can take in those later rounds into account, but let's be honest, if a team missed on a 5th round pick, it doesn't really matter. If they miss on a 2nd round pick, that starts to build up and matter a little bit, especially if they do that consistently. So first up, they drafted Mekhi Becton out of Louisville with the 11th overall pick, and it was kind of a surprise to me. I thought that with them sitting there at 11, having their choice of receiver, I thought there was a really good chance they go receiver there at 11. I think we all knew coming into the draft it was either receiver or tackle. They obviously end up going receiver, and this is kind of the start. I said at the beginning, they were a little bit gamblers. If I picked one word to describe their draft, it was they took a lot of gambles, and some of them paid off and some of them didn't when it comes to trades, and some of them we're going to see as far as the players that they took. Who knows? Mekhi Becton has insane upside. He has best tackle in the class upside. but there's some development that needs to be made. He has always been considered the project of the top 4 tackles that were on the board. He was the big project tackle that everyone wanted to talk about, and I think that's fair. I mean, he wasn't asked to do a whole lot at Louisville. It was a very simple offense there, so his pass protection sets, his run blocking sets, very simplistic. So he is going to have to learn on the fly with the Jets. But of course, dude's built like a brick barn. I mean, he's just absolutely massive. So I think they got a good pick there. I was a little bit surprised they didn't take Ruggs, Judy, or CeeDee Lamb. That kind of surprised me a little bit. But again, I mean, that's nitpicky to say the least. And to be fair, with their second pick, they were able to move back in the second round and still pick up Denzel Mims, a guy that I had mocked in the bottom of the first round. I really thought there was a good chance he could go to the Packers or the Vikings or Seattle or something like that at the bottom half of the first round, and I thought for sure he'd be gone before pick 40. He doesn't. He falls all the way to pick 59 at the end of the second round, and the Jets get a stud in my opinion. I think I probably would have liked to seen Mims on a team where there's another guy opposite him, and I don't think that is really the case with the Jets. The Jets just don't have a very deep receiver core, which is one of the reasons I was a little bit surprised they didn't double down on receiver at any point in this class. But I do think Denzel Mims is a day one starter. I think he's going to be in a position where he does get to succeed and give Darnold a chance to really succeed as something that I don't feel like he's had. I mean, there's been a lot of reasons that you can point to and why he hasn't been as successful as maybe you would have thought with him coming out as a top 5 pick. And if you want a little bit more of a deep dive on the player that I think Denzel Mims is, I actually did a draft profile on him, so you can check that out as well if you are interested. But the short answer is I thought there was a lot of potential. I was really excited to see his 40 when I recorded that video because I hadn't seen it yet. I recorded it before the combine. He blows up the 40, and that just told me everything I needed to know to believe in him as a top 40 pick. And the fact that he fell to 59, incredibly surprising to me. And with pick number 68 in the third round, they do take Ashton Davis, safety out of California. I was a little bit surprised by this. I thought Ashton Davis was a guy who has all the measurables, but didn't put it together consistently in college. I did not see him as a third round guy coming into the class, but I think, just watching this draft, I can say that about a lot of guys, and a lot of guys went in the third round because of potential. And I think that's clear with Ashton Davis here. There's obvious potential here, and it kind of makes you wonder, was the Jamal Adams trade become more of a conversation? Because I know that's been rumored a lot, and it also begs the question: are they ready to move on from Marcus May? Possibly. I know the Jets have come out and said that they do want to pay Jamal Adams, so maybe this isn't about Jamal Adams as much as it is Marcus May, who it should be a free agent after this year, I believe. Marcus May was a second round pick in the same draft that they took Jamal Adams in, the 2017 draft, I believe. So there's a lot of questions here. I was a little bit surprised they went safety. I do think that this has to be either a need that they're preparing for, or a position where there are changes afoot. I don't know, or maybe they're just looking at a guy who is a developmental piece and that they like the value there in the third round. Either way, I'm not going to hate on the pick because, again, I do think it's just a developmental guy, and I think that is what the Jets were going for there. I'm curious to see what happens in the secondary of that team because there's a lot of different possibilities there. And with their second pick in the third round, number 76, probably the most interesting pick of their draft to me. I was incredibly surprised that they went Jabari Zunagi, and I apologize, I may have absolutely butchered that name. I'm not sure on the exact pronunciation there. Defensive end out of Florida. The reason I was so surprised is because when I watched him pre-draft process, I saw the kind of the same guy that I saw from Florida last year, which was Ja'Kai Polite. That's a guy that the Jets drafted either in the second or third round last year. I think Jabari, he did flash a little bit. There were certain times where I'm like, okay, yeah, I see it. He definitely has the measurables, which, that's not really something that I look at when I watch films. So that's probably why some of my grades in these mid rounds are a little bit different, just because, I don't look at the measurables are the afterthought for me. Can you play football is kind of the main point when I'm watching the film. And to me, I didn't see it. I did not see him as a day two guy. I understand the fit, I guess. I understand what they were thinking. I definitely get the upside in him. But to me, getting a guy who is way too similar to the player that they just missed on in the last draft, strange. I don't feel like you see teams do that. I mean, this is kind of the same. This is the same franchise. This is the same group of people making the picks. So I truly just did not understand that. So I do want to talk about some of the trades that the Jets made. I thought the Jets did really, really good in the trade department. I thought they added value where they needed to. First big trade that they made, they did trade back in the second round. The Seahawks traded up to pick 48, and in return, the Jets received pick number 59 and 101, which is a third round pick, which was awesome. And at that point in the draft, I was a little bit surprised because I thought, they had just gone tackle in the first, so it seemed like wide receiver in the second was a clear-cut option. And for me, I was looking at Denzel Mims, and I was like, man, that just seems like a good fit. I'm really, really surprised that the Jets would trade out of that and give up a chance to get Denzel Mims. Instead, Denzel Mims falls another 11 spots, and the Jets are able to take them anyway. So to me, the Jets got a free third round pick. Like that's what I'm calling that pick, because I can't imagine a world where they would have taken anybody else but Denzel Mims at 48. They were able to trade back and get the exact same guy. I mean, that's just awesome. And in another trade back move, they were able to turn that third round pick that they got from the Seahawks, which was pick number 101, into 2 fourth round picks and a 6th round pick next year. So the amount of value that they got out of that original trade in the second round is insane. They essentially turned that 1 second round pick into the number 59 overall pick, the number 125, the 129, and a 6th round pick next year. So the amount of value that they got was awesome. I absolutely loved that move for the Jets. And those are the things that I look at as far as, manipulating the board and playing the actual draft process. That's a huge win for me, because you already heard, I wasn't a big fan of a lot of their picks. I loved Denzel Mims as a pick, but the other 3 guys, I thought they probably could have gone better directions. I thought either my board would be incredibly different to the Jets board, which is totally fine. What do I know? They know their team better than I do. But I can only base it on what I see, and I can only tell you what I think. So that was kind of my initial thoughts when I look at the players that they drafted, especially in those first 3 rounds. And I'm not going to lie to you, when you go beyond that and you look at guys that they drafted, and I don't usually like to focus on other players that they took later, but I thought La'Mical Pirine out of Florida was a little bit of a reach for me. To me, I didn't think he was a top 150 pick. I thought he was going to be a 6th or 7th rounder type of guy, running back out of Florida. Again, that's just a guy who I just never saw the real possibility of him being an every down back or somebody who can consistently start. Granted, he's going to be playing behind Le'Veon Bell, so I like the fit for Pirine. I really do. I do question why you would take him in the 4th round. I will say, I did think their best pick was actually Bryce Hall in the 5th round, cornerback out of Virginia. And this is a guy who has a lot of injuries, and I think that was probably why he fell. That's the only reason that I could look at to why he fell, because his play on the field did not warrant 5th round. To me, he was a day 2 guy all the way, and they got him in the 5th round. So that's one of my favorite players that they got, and probably my favorite defensive player that they got in their draft, and they got him in the 4th round. So I was definitely mixed on their actual draft picks and the players they got. But the moves that they made, the trade backs and turning 1 second round pick into a 2nd round pick 11 picks later, and then 4 other assets, I think that's awesome. I think that's exactly what the draft is all about, just being able to manipulate the board in the right way. They did a great job of that. And they also, I forgot to mention this, they also turned their 6th round pick, number 211, into Quincy Williams, cornerback from the Colts. They traded their 6th round pick to the Colts, and in return they got Quincy Wilson. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Quincy Wilson is an awesome player. I was kind of high on him when he came out, and I was surprised that he bust for the Colts so bad. But I don't think there was a better player that you could have got with the 211th pick in the draft. I think Quincy Williams is definitely worth that. And you see these kind of things happen a lot. More often than not, it doesn't work out for the player. But every once in a while, you see these trades happen and things just fit. And he's able to put it together. He's able to realize, oh shit, I gotta take it up a notch if I want to play. And maybe the Jets get a steal. Who knows? That's kind of best case scenario type of thing, but that's definitely a possibility. That's definitely in the range of possibility. So as far as their draft as a whole, I was a little bit mixed. I did think that their best move, as I said, was both the trade backs. I thought they did gain as much value as they could. My least favorite move was probably them taking quarterback James Morgan out of Florida International in the 4th round. I thought that was a little bit strange for a team that, yes, I absolutely understand the value in a backup quarterback. I didn't know anything about James Morgan. Maybe he is a clear backup quarterback that's going to come in and be a backup right away. I don't know that. To me, that was the Jake Fromm pick, who was still available at this point in the draft, so that's just kind of weird to me. And along with the fact that you're a team they were picking 11th overall for a reason. They have a lot of needs on their team, so I feel like getting Adam Gase weapons and getting him an offensive line would have been to me a more important avenue to go down. I would have probably taken another shot at offensive line or wide receiver or something. I mean, both of those positions were kind of deep in this class, especially wide receiver. So I probably would have gone a different way there instead of taking a backup quarterback that has really no chance of helping your team right away. But again, that's a 4th round pick. The 4th round picks are really hit and miss anyway. Most of them don't end up helping your team right away. So I get the thought process, and that is a little bit nitpicky, to be perfectly fair. And the biggest surprise for me was, of course, Denzel Mims falling to them at the back of the 2nd round. I thought they got really, really lucky with that. I think that was, in hindsight, a great deal because, again, they legitimately got 4 extra assets by trading back, and they also got the guy that they probably would have drafted anyway. But I was very surprised that Mims fell to 59 overall. That was shocking to me, to say the least. My overall grade for this Jets draft class is a B-. I think that's a perfectly fair grade. I didn't love a lot of their picks. I understood the thought process. I probably would have gone a different direction, but that's just me. What do I know, right? Guys, let me know what you guys think. Tell me what you would have done differently, what you liked about this class, and please hit that like and subscribe button and follow the journey and check out a lot more videos to come on this channel. Peace out, guys. Bye.